Blacklight Protocol, a Red King Creations production. Episode 13, The Hunt. Shoot, look, I didn't want to say anything, but felt like I needed to. My name is Brinley, and everybody in town calls me Cricket. I reckon at this point it's more my name than anything else. My dad started calling me that because I'm smaller than my siblings, but I'm fast, and I've always been pretty dang good at jumping. I'll tell you that much. All of my siblings are boys. If you're a girl with nothing but brothers, you know how stupid they are, and you can't let them catch you because once they do, you're screwed. That's why I'm fast. That's why I can jump out of any situation faster than a chicken snake in a car wash. I'm from the South, Alabama specifically, and you know down here we ain't like them prissy girls up north. No sir. The ladies down here get things done. Mama's real good at cooking, and she makes the best jalapeno cornbread in the Southeast, and I'll fight you over it. My mom was the best at making clothes. I mean, she don't make clothes so much now that I'm older, but when I was little, she'd sew and sew. She made the cutest little frock dresses, I swear to Jesus. But while they do that, I like to help my daddy with hunting. My family now, if it moves, we'll shoot it. And if we shoot it, we're gonna eat it. That's just our way of life. Dad's been real good ever since I was little about filling up our freezer. All kinds of deer meat. And if we're lucky, we'll get a few rabbits here and there. And those are real good. Personally, I love when dove season rolls around. Doves are real cute. And what you do is you just pop the little breast meat out of them suckers and it makes a killer stir fry. It's like the filet mignon of the sky or something. Really tender. Anyway, point is, I love hunting. And hunting is the reason all that I'm about to tell you took place. See, I love hunting, I do. But being a lady and all, some days you don't wake up feeling like going. Some days you wake up stuck to the bed sheets with your own blood and cramps so bad, you almost understand why all of them high school girls got pregnant. I beg your pardon on my language because Mama would skin me alive, but since she ain't around right now, and she probably won't see this, it's probably for the best that I'm just honest. My dad wanted me to go hunting with him that day. It was a Thursday, and when I woke up, it's like I said, I was just plastered in all kinds of ways, and I was not feeling it. I mean, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I thought I'd had cocaine or something all over my face. I was so pale. But here's the thing, and you may not understand this. You may not have brothers and dads and papas like me, but the minute, and I swear the very second they think you're wimping out on something, they light you up. So yeah, I felt like crap, but I was gonna have to go and there just wasn't any way around it. I had to represent. Even if all I did was find a nice tree and sit under and take a nap, I had to go. Plus, I guess, if you're gonna feel like garbage, you might as well feel like garbage doing something you enjoy. That's what I thought anyway. But now, screw that. Stay home, stay in bed. But I didn't. I got up, cleaned myself off, bundled up the sheets for washing later, and got myself all padded up. You never know how things are going to go in the woods, and you never know when you'll have to take a piss, so I decided to take a few extra pads and wipes just in case. I got my hunting clothes, and they smelled like dirt and doe estrus from the last time I went hunting. Which is good. You want that. You don't wash your hunting clothes unless you have to, You don't want to be out in the woods smelling like Tide Pods or whatever. At this point, it's about 4:15 in the morning, and Daddy's got the truck cranked up and getting warm. Ain't no two ways about it, it's always freezing at 0400. Papa's on the front porch smoking Chesterfields. That's his thing. Now you might think that tobacco smoke might deter deer, but it don't for some reason. As it turns out, only one of my brothers was going with us, which, as you can imagine, gives me ammo to use against the others later. This brother's name is Sam, and he ain't so bad. He's the least bad of all the brothers. He's handing Dad the gun cases, and Dad's putting them in the truck. I offer my personal favorite, my .44 lever-action Marlin. Dad used to gripe every time I use it, because it ain't got the range of a .30-06, but it's a sweet shooting cowboy gun. Plus, It's a little smaller, and it fits me well. Use what's best for you, right? Once the guns are loaded, I hop in. I know the drill. I'm the smallest, so that means I have to sit in the middle over the stick shift. Sam slides in next to me, and Pawpaw spits his cig out and slides in next. It's cramped in the truck, and it smells like smoke, but it's one of those things I remember about hunting most. It's 4:25 now, and we gotta get going. Tradition dictates that before a hunt, you have to stop at the Mini Mart. It's a little gas station, but somehow they sell everything. And if you're going to be out in the woods in the freezing cold, you've got to have some kind of fuel. Now, it's not an official rule. Maybe it's an unspoken rule or something, but whatever snack you get, it's got to be pretty unhealthy. My go-to is a grape soda and a pack of Sour Stripes. Those old guys that still wake up on Vietnam time zones with their veteran caps are always sitting at a small table in the back eating a biscuit. It's customary that you nod, no more, no less. There's a few other hunters in the Mini Mart. A few of them make small talk, want to know if you're going to the management area or private land. Then they wish you well, and we respond in kind. 10 minutes later, we're back in the truck. Daddy never even turned it off, he just left it running. 4:38 a.m., and we're back on the road. It's still dark, and we've got the radio at a minimum. I can just barely hear Rick and Bubba discussing the day's politics. 4:47 a.m., and my boots are crunching on the gravel. Guns are distributed, cases discarded. Daddy hands me my box of 44s. Brought another box, he says. Take a handful. 2 handfuls. He says, his words coming out of his bearded lips like white wisps of cold fog. I bite a glove off of my hand and scoop the cool metal shells into my palm. Daddy always wants me to have more bullets than I need. Another one of those traditions. My first handful goes in my pocket and weighs my pants down. Good thing I tightened my belt ahead of time. The other handful goes in my breast pocket. Don't want too many bullets in the same place. Don't know why, you just don't. 4:55 a.m. and I hear the racking of rounds into guns. We tighten our toboggans, and without a word, we go our separate ways. We don't really have to talk about it. We all have our hunting spots. Daddy likes to hunt by the old wooden tree stand at the top of the ridge. Pawpaw doesn't like being too far from the truck, so he takes his little chair just inside the woods. Sam has a spot he's been working all season, and it's a little blind in a holler. I don't like hunting near other people. I like to be as alone as I can, so I hoof it down the road. In the grand scheme of things, it's not actually that far, but you can't always go in as the crow flies. You have to follow the road down the hill and turn into a rock pile. You have to weave your way through thick bramble before you actually arrive in the small valley. Normally, I like the walk, but that day it sucked. I was reminded all too quick that my cramps were very much there, and I had to stop a few times just to avoid throwing up. It's 5:11 a.m. and I'm late, but I don't give myself too much grief, considering the circumstances. I arrive at a small clearing surrounded by hardwood trees, black walnuts, white oak, acorns everywhere, and just enough grass in the middle to become the perfect spot. On my way in, I had noticed 2 buck rubs where they'd worn their horns against the smaller trees. I didn't sit right at the edge of the clearing. Now I popped myself just outside of it, so I had a little tree cover in front of me. 5:15 a.m. now. I'm sitting down, leaning back against a tree. I like to kick out a small clearing of leaves, that way they aren't crunching up around me every time I move. I get my rifle laid out on my lap, load 3 into the magazine, and lever 1 in the chamber. Safety on, I double checked. We're good. 5:17 a.m. Close enough. The deer won't move till daybreak. It's still dark, and I just have to wait and become part of the environment. With another sickening wave of pain, I grimace and swore to myself. I started wondering if I'd left any medicine in my jacket. Did I leave it in my breast pocket? I check. No, that's my second handful of bullets. I try another pocket. What I find are what look like a couple of ibuprofen and some lint. I pop them back and wash it down with grape soda. What have I got to lose? I settle myself in and check my gun a third time and close my eyes. When I open them again, sunlight is streaming through the branches and the ground is white with frost. My heart catches as I hear a snort, and I move only my eyes. I don't see him, but he's there. Another snort, rustle in the leaves. The buck slowly begins to move into view. No, shoot, son, he's a big one. My heart pounds harder with excitement. If I manage to pop a shot off of this thing, you better believe I'm gonna rub it in my brother's face from now till kingdom come. A bird chirps and the deer looks away. I shift ever so slightly because I slump down in my sleep. I grit my teeth as I feel my uterus want to rip itself into a dozen different pieces. Nothing I haven't dealt with before, but not at all conducive to my situation. My shifting draws immediate attention from the deer. It's looking my way, so I fix my eyes on something in the distance. A knot on a tree, because deer know when your eyes follow. They recognize when you're meeting their gaze. All of a sudden, the deer looks in a different direction. It takes a skittish step forward, grunts, and paws at the ground. Then, all at once, it throws its flag and bolts off into the woods at rocket speed. Shoot, shoot, shoot! I hiss, sitting up straight and aiming my gun. I can't get a shot. I groaned and thumped my head against the back of the tree. Stupid, so stupid! That was my chance! Stupid whitetail. I craned my head to see what might have spooked him, because I know it sure as hell wasn't me. I don't see anything. I decide that I'm cramping and in pain enough that I'm allowed to crack into my sour strips. The plastic crackles loudly in the quiet woods. I don't care. I'm pissed. I'm in pain. I'm afraid to move my legs and feel how uncomfortable and bloody I am. Now, look, this is where it happens. This is the moment, because there I am, sitting in the woods, sour strip hanging out of my mouth, and I hear a gunshot. It comes from up over the hill, probably Daddy or Papa. I turn my head, looking in that direction, and start bringing up my sour candy. When I turn my head back to focus on the clearing, I freeze again. There's something there, across the way. It's sitting at the edge of the trees. That's when my freaking alarm bells go off. You know how they talk about when you're in the woods and everything goes quiet? Yeah, people talk about it, but it's real. I've been hunting and running around in the woods all of my life. It's only ever happened twice. The woods go quiet when a predator is around. You may not know it. You may not recognize who or what the predator is, but the forest knows. It always knows. And what that means is that whatever is across the clearing is the predator. I've never seen anything like it. I've just never. I'll just tell you what I saw. And screw you if you don't believe me. That's on you, pal. It was black, and it had long hair that seemed to stick out in all directions. When it crept around the tree, its movements, they didn't make any sense. Its limbs were long, too long, and they didn't bend where you think the joints were supposed to. It moved almost like it was glitching. Glitching, is that the right way to put it? Its arms would reach slowly out. It would then latch onto a tree or something, and then it would pull itself quickly to its location. And then its freaky legs would follow, like they had to catch up. It reminded me of a really poorly animated stop-motion cartoon on YouTube. It came out from around the tree, and I saw that it had white dots for eyes, and its head was like 90% mouth. was frozen in shock. Like, what the hell am I seeing? What the hell is that? The worst part was when I saw it raise its head up, it opened its mouth and began to make it was like a hissing sound. Or maybe it was just sucking in a breath. Or maybe it was smelling the air. Tasting it. I slurped up the last of my sour strip. I was fine, I thought. I was fine. I had my dough estrus. I smelled like deer piss and moldy leaves, and I was bleeding out of my vagina. I hate being a woman. I really do. The creature sucked in a long, deep breath, and I quickly took note of the wind. Where was it blowing? Was I upwind or downwind? I was upwind. I was upwind, and this freak of nature was breathing in my bloody scent. It turned and it looked right at me. Its little white dots that it used for eyes didn't blink. They just looked at me, as blank as a dead deer's eyes. Except I could see it creeping forward, creeping toward me. Here's the deal. When you're in a situation like I was, you don't really get a whole lot of time to think things through. You ain't got no life flashing before your eyes. You ain't thinking of your daddy or your stupid brothers. No, you're not thinking about nothing. The long black creature began to cross the clearing, mouth open, sucking in the scent. It would reach out those long arms, lock them into place, and then pull itself forward. Reach, lock, pull. It's 6:05 a.m. It's tradition to stay put till the sun comes up good and high. Not today. I flicked the safety, raised my .44, and fired. The forest was so quiet, the sound racked the air like a clap of thunder in my cold ears. My body was stiff, so stiff from being in the cold, from being still. I didn't have time to think. I didn't even have time to think about if I even hit it. I just racked the next bullet and fired. I jumped up, and that's when I screamed. Funny enough, it wasn't because of a monster. It was because my legs felt like I'd been sitting on the toilet too long. I swore. I pushed myself back up, my cold fingers fumbling in my pocket looking for more ammo. I dropped one bullet, maybe two. I looked up and saw the creature had reached the trees. It was a giant chunk missing from its right side. I'd clipped its face, and one of its white eyeballs was dangling by a thread. It poked its broken head out from behind a tree and made a deep, rumbling sound. I turned and ran. The woods were still quiet. All I could do was stumble past tree after tree, hoping that I could make it to the road. I looked back and I couldn't see. I couldn't see it, but there it was. It was creeping forward. It wasn't as fast as I thought it might have been with those freaking spider-looking legs. You know, looking back, it almost seemed curious. It seemed almost unfazed that I'd shot it in the face. It crept forward, observing me, poking its head out from behind each tree that it came to. I barreled through bushes, thorns threatening to trip me and scratching my face and digging into my hands as I tore them out of my path. I hit the gravel road breathing hard, and a realization hit me. And it shocks me even today because I didn't ever think I was that smart. Didn't ever think I was that brave, but you know, I realized I couldn't lead it back to the truck. My daddy, my brother, Papa, they were still out there. So what I did was I came up with a plan. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like my plan. I crossed the road, ran down into a holler. I took my sour strips and started tossing them around, bright little ribbons laying on crunchy brown leaves. As I moved down through the trees and away from the truck, I took my grape soda and poured it out, hoping and praying it was still following me. I reached a large boulder covered in leaves and stood on top of it and turned around, looking for any sign of the creature. I didn't see it, but I could hear it. A very distinct movement. Reach, lock, pull. It was a slight crunch followed by a rustle of leaves. Repeat. This thing was after my scent, right? And I needed it to get off of me and away from the truck. I shouldered my gun and unbuckled my belt just enough so that I could reach down and pull out my bloody pad. Then I took it like a messy wipe and smeared the blood and gunk all over the rock, as much as I could. It wasn't much, but it was spreading, aggravating the scent. I took my jacket off, fumbled with it enough to grab my handful of bullets, and laid it down on the leaves. It had doe estrus, my sweat, my smell all over it, plus the blood. It was going to have to be enough. When I looked up again, I could see it cresting the top of the holler. It was at the top and on its way down. I patted my pants pockets, wondering if I still had them. They were in a side pocket, crushed and bent, but there they were. A small pack of Pawpaw's Chesterfields. Those would smell. I had a lighter in my other pocket. It was almost out of juice, but it sparked to life. I lit a cigarette and puffed it till it was piping, and then tossed it down. Maybe if I was lucky, I'd burn the whole forest down. I ran further down the holler till I hit the bottom, and then ran even faster. I had my legs back and the adrenaline was starting to kick in. Further down, I lit another Chester, puffed this one a little extra just for me, and then tossed it down. I crossed the small creek at the bottom. I didn't even worry about crossing on the rocks, I just plunged right through. It was freezing and awful, and I was being chased by a monster, and I was still cramping. I started going up the other side of the holler, and it sucked. It was uphill, my boots were wet, everything sucked. But when I looked back, I had a pretty decent view of my path. I saw movement and used my scope to find the creature. It had stopped at the rock, and from its wide mouth a tongue fell out, like it had no real control over it. And then it began to rub its lifeless tongue all over the rock, licking up the blood. Freaking weird monster thing. At the top was another gravel road that passed by the old oil pump and met up at the intersection where Daddy had parked the truck. He always leaves his keys in the lid of the gas tank, so I opened it up and just started smashing the horn. That was our signal. It's 6:35 a.m. and I'm standing in the back of the truck, gun in my hands. Daddy and Papa came out first, and I breathed a sigh of relief. A minute after them comes Sam running through the woods, asking what's wrong. I don't go into it all. Daddy was pissed. Didn't know what was going on. Papa was just concerned about why I was covered in mud and had scratches all over my face and blood stains all over my fingers. I just told them that we were going home and that we needed to go home now. Right then, right now. At some point, I think they all quit arguing and questioning because I was just becoming more and more frantic and loud. And I was on the verge of using my high-pitched voice like a bratty child when Papa looked my dad in the face, gave him the look, and we all loaded up. Daddy was about to close the door when he stopped and held it open for a sec. "You hear that?" he asked. "Sounds like a tornado siren," Sam said. "Ain't nothing in the weather about no storms today," Daddy said, and shut the door. Our drive home was silent. Sam did the smart thing, and he didn't say a thing. I don't know if it has anything to do with this, but on the road we saw no less than a dozen black SUVs with no markings at all pass by at breakneck speed. They flew so fast it's like we were going in reverse or something. Maybe it's those men in black or something like the movies. I don't know. I don't know nothing. I tried to talk to Daddy and Papa all about it. They asked me a lot of questions, and I told them everything I'd seen. They said they were going to go back out and check it out, which I didn't like, but they said when they arrived back out at that property, there were government men out there, and those black SUVs were everywhere, and there was an ambulance. Daddy asked them what was going on, and they said that there was wolves in the area. Those wolves had gotten to one of the hunters, but they wouldn't say who. Wasn't no wolves. I know that. You know that. Anyways, that's my story. Believe it or don't, but I saw what I saw. I've been out in the woods since, and hadn't seen anything else. The black cars were gone. I haven't seen any monsters either. There you go, sir. I'm done. You can write me sometime on my email if you need to ask me any more questions or something. Hey, thank you, Miss Brinley, for sharing your story with me. It does not sound like this was easy to share. I'm so glad that you did, though, because this is the third time that I've heard about these creatures with the long limbs and the wide eyes. If you haven't seen it, I have a previous story titled Furry, and in that one there's a guy who sees one of these creatures crawl out from the inside of someone and just start eating a bunch of drugged out furries. They were also mentioned by John Titter. He's a self-proclaimed time traveler who came to the southeast US, and I think he mentioned that there was a town in Georgia, I believe, in which he saw one of these long men, as an older lady called them. Here's what I don't know. I don't know what these things are, but more and more people are seeing them. The old lady at the bookshop that John visited mentioned that there was a girl with a porcelain finger who thought that they were after her. That's also the first time that a tornado siren is mentioned. We've had 2 accounts of a tornado siren. Both times it appears as they were acting as a warning. And we've also had 2 accounts of men in black figures arriving on scene. The notable difference here is that there's no mention of any canary cages. I wish I had more to share on this, but right now that's all I have. If you have any more information on the long men, please reach out to me however you can. I think that for the protocol, this is a significant breakthrough. Our first real thread that we've seen pop up several times. I'm going to be doing some more research. As it stands, I'm not aware of any creatures mentioned in myth or legend that resemble these long men, but maybe there's something that I've missed. I find it hard to believe that these things are new. I guess the only other thing to mention is that they're after blood. These things are not your friend, so run. Run away. If you can.